Hi, and welcome back to my channel. So, this is going to be the first of my holiday movie reviews. And sort of like a theme with the Christmas movies is they're movies that some people might not consider Christmas movies, but they definitely are. So, the first one that I'm going to go over is Batman Returns. Now, Batman Returns is my second favorite Batman movie overall. And mostly that's because of Catwoman. But it came out in 1992, and I was 6. And what's funny about that is I've, watched a lot of retro reviews and commentary about the movie. And I guess because I saw it as a kid, I didn't realize that people didn't like it because they thought it was darker in tone than Batman 1989. And they thought it was inappropriate for kids, and they got mad at McDonald's for doing that big marketing campaign, but like I remember those Happy Meals and the toys, so I don't know. It wasn't a big deal to me. Like I remember that like Batmobile toy that got skinny like it does in the movie. Like I don't know, wasn't a big deal. Like I don't think I was taken to like the theaters to see it, but I definitely remember watching it at home on TV. So anyway, it's definitely a Christmas movie though, because it takes place at Christmas. Like literally, like the whole focal point for most of the movie is them doing their tree lighting in Gotham City. So it's definitely a Christmas movie. And I really like that being like a part of the plot, them doing that tree lighting, because it just reminds me of my childhood growing up in Kansas City, because in the downtown area, they do the plaza lighting every year where all the buildings downtown are lit up, and then they have their own Christmas tree lighting at the Crown Center. So that's just like reminds me of my childhood, and I used to love that. So I like that theme in the movie. And then the other thing that I really like about Batman Returns is just like the kind of continuity from the first one in terms of like the visuals, because when I watch Batman movies, I'm always interested in seeing how like Gotham City is depicted. And visually, Batman Returns is very much like Batman 1989. And it's funny because Gotham always seems like dark, but then they had to make it festive because it's Christmas time, and I don't know. I just think it's interesting, but I definitely like the visuals of Gotham City. And as with most of the movies I've been watching recently, it's interesting how, art reflects our life, and people put things in movies that are relevant for the time, but then when you watch them like years later, it's like you're always surprised about how relevant it still is. And there were like a lot of like themes in Batman Returns, and I'm like, like like corrupt millionaires and shady millionaires, like Shrek, just you know a little bit too familiar right now. And also mayoral elections, and because he's mad, Shrek, because he can't get the mayor on board with this, project, this, unethical project that he wants to do. And then he basically is talking about, mayors come and go, and tries to like have a rig an election and have an election outside of the normal time period. And this is like, again, all of those themes are just a little too familiar right now, but I thought that was interesting upon watching it again. And then lastly, before I get to my favorite part, which is Catwoman, just like in my review for the Batman, where I really didn't say a lot about the Penguin, that goes double for Batman Returns because he was just gross. Like, he didn't scare me as a child, he just grossed me out, and as an adult, it is still the same. Everything about his look and behavior just, in my opinion, is not worth mentioning. I'm sure, because, my reviews aren't comprehensive, I'm sure there's one out there that'll give you all the stuff you want to know about the Penguin in this movie. I'm not going to talk anymore about him other than say it was grossed me out then, grosses me out now. Okay. Moving on to Selena Kyle / Catwoman. So Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman is my favorite version. Absolutely love her. And so it's like, I like how she's presented. So Selena Kyle is presented as, a secretary, or as she calls herself, an assistant, who is overworked and underappreciated, which we see very clearly in her first scene that we're introduced to her in. And I've always found that fascinating how in popular media they depict secretaries is basically like servants. And it's like, I've always hated that, because it's like, why should a secretary be responsible for your personal life as well as your professional life? And I mean, I think it's even different, like, if you're like in the entertainment industry, but if we're just talking about like regular like business dealings, like, picking up dry cleaning and getting people food and all that, I don't know. You can kind of tell that she's smarter or could do more than what she's given to do. And so it just, you definitely get that sense that, like I said, she's underappreciated, and there's like a lot more that she could be doing that she's not allowed to do because her boss is shady and crappy. But anyway, then you move on to the next scene where you get to see her apartment and her home life. And just like I think I mentioned in my Batman Forever video how I liked the Riddler's apartment, I love Selena Kyle's apartment in Batman Returns. And there's like several movies where it's like one of the standout features for me watching that movie is the apartment that a character lives in. And I love her apartment. I guess it's like it reflects like her personality. It's slightly chaotic and cluttery, but then it has like those pink walls, and it's kind of like gives the impression, well, I was gonna say studio, but it's more like a one bedroom. But it's like, it's very small, but you can kind of tell that she's tried to add life to it. And I like that because it's like at Christmas time, she has just like a few Christmas decorations. She has a little bitty tree and like a little bitty Santa Claus figurine. And, then in her own room, she has that like neon sign that says hello there, that then gets turned into hell here later. Anyway, but it's just like, I love like that depiction of her inner life, that it's like when she comes home to her apartment, it does reflect, some bits of herself. And I love the scene where she comes back to life after Shrek pushes her out the window, and she comes back to the apartment, and then it's kind of like whiplash from the first time you're introduced to her apartment, because her whole personality has like been rearranged, and her rage comes out and she starts tearing these things up. And so it's like, before you're getting this glimpse into like how she feels when she gets home, and then now that she's kind of like reborn, you can kind of feel her like disdain or disgust for her former self as she goes through tearing stuff up. I don't know, it's interesting. And then I've always loved like her first night as Catwoman, when she saves that woman in the alley, and she introduces herself and says, "I'm Catwoman, hear me roar," and then she does the backflips. Just, I'm sorry. Plus her whole suit, the scene where you see her like making the suit, and just, I don't know, like I said, cinematically as a Catwoman, like, I'm sorry, I just think she's the best. And also, I love the pettiness of going back to your job after your boss has basically killed you. Like, because one has to think, if you've been pushed out a window and kind of like supernaturally brought back to life, like, I don't think I would go into work. It's the fact that she went into work like petty, like to kind of like mess with Shrek's mind. Like, I don't know, the whole sequence where she comes back in and she's talking to Bruce Wayne. I don't know. I just think that's hilarious. And my absolute favorite scene of hers is when she blows up the Shrek store, and she comes out and she sees Batman and the Penguin, and she says meow before the whole building blows up. I'm sorry. And she's flipping over to them before she says it. Again, like, all of her scenes are just like the best scenes, and Michelle Pfeiffer acts them so well. And then I also liked her style in this. Just like how I like, apartments, I also like fashion in movies. And I'm sorry, that winter coat that she's wearing in that one scene where she's like looking in the window, it's a bad winter coat. I absolutely love it. And it kind of makes me wonder, is that something she bought like after she became Catwoman, and she was like kind of like feeling herself a bit, like, let me go get me a new winter coat? I don't know. And then her party dress that she wears later on, like, and it, like I said, it kind of makes you wonder if this is like her style sense now that she's Catwoman, because it reflects like more confidence. I don't know. All I know is it's a bad party dress that she's wearing later in the movie. Um, and I just, in general, I like that her motivation was just vengeance and to get revenge, because sometimes that's all there is. Her boss was an absolutely horrible human being who threw her out a window. So yes, her whole motivation through the whole movie is to get him. Like, I don't know. To me, that's simplistic. It makes sense. I don't know. I just like that about her. Um, and I also thought it was interesting that they really played up the idea of her being like a literal cat with like 9 lives, and how she keeps dying and like having lives left. I don't know. And I kind of like how you don't get a real clear explanation for that. Just it is. And I definitely loved the ending, of course, with the implication that she had 1 life left and that she's still out there. Loved it. So that's my Catwoman section. Like I said, I absolutely loved her. Loved her as a kid. Love her even more as an adult. And yeah, love Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman. So now I just want to talk briefly about Batman and Catwoman. And Bruce and Selina, because it's like 2 different dynamics, and I think they definitely depict that well in Batman Returns. So I like that when you first meet them together, you meet him as Batman and her as Selina. So she, this is when the Penguin has sent like his little goons out to disrupt the tree lighting, and Batman saves her. And it's just interesting because you can kind of see like her nerdy, awkward behavior, and Batman is kind of like dismissive, but not like, I don't think like in a mean way, but just like, Batman doesn't like show like a whole lot of like emotions, just like, hey, I came to save you because that's what I do. And it's just like such a weird, awkward interaction. But then, even though in that interaction it seems like Batman doesn't really take note of her, I like after the fact, after she's become Catwoman and she comes back to work and she meets him as Bruce Wayne, he remembers her, and it's like I don't even know if like he's aware that he's remembering her from that. I think he is, but I just like that idea that at first you get the impression that he's not like really, he doesn't care who she is, it's just a person that he saved, but it's obvious when she comes in and he sees her and he says, yeah, we've met before. It's like, I just like that. Because, and of course, the only thing that's really different about her is that she's done up her hair and she's not wearing glasses. But the point still stands that I like that she did in some way make a lasting impression on him, or else he wouldn't have recognized her as Bruce Wayne as well. And then, of course, their dynamic, I think Michael Keaton and Michelle Pfeiffer's dynamic with like tension, sexual tension, and like all of that, I think they're like the best, and I think that's why people like them so much. And I think part of that is because like they used to date in real life, Michelle Pfeiffer and Michael Keaton. Of course, they'd long been broken up by the time Batman Returns come out, but like I think that's part of why the chemistry is there. And like their fight scenes as Batman and Catwoman are great. And then I like their date as Selina and Bruce, because he runs into her on the street when she's like in that bad winter coat, and she goes over to the house and they're gonna watch like the tree lighting at his house. And I just like, that date where they're kind of trying to get to know each other. And I like how you can see their other lives, blurring and melting into this moment. Like when they both feel the wounds that they got while they were fighting as like Batman and Catwoman. It's just such an interesting mix. And then when they find out that the Penguin has disrupted the tree lighting again, they go there as their alter egos, only they don't know they're going there as their alter egos. Just, I don't know. Such an interesting way to kind of like reveal that to the audience, even though they don't know that about each other yet. And then, of course, the ultimate reveal when they're at the Christmas party, which, by the way, I'm going to talk about this when I talk about my other movie review. Growing up, movies set at Christmas time that would show people at their jobs always depict like these elaborate Christmas parties or just like a party at all. And I'm like, what job is this at? Because my whole adult life, I've never gotten to have like a work Christmas party like that. Like either one where you go to like a separate venue and you dress up, or just like an actual party at your job where like everybody takes a break from their work and they have a party. And of course, now in our work remote world, I'm never going to get to experience that. But it's just like, I don't know. When I was a kid, I thought I was going to get to go to a Christmas party like that at my job. Never have. But anyway, they show up to the big Christmas party at Shrek's office, and of course they say the lines about the mistletoe, and that's when they realize that they're Catwoman and Batwoman. Catwoman and Batwoman. Catwoman and Batman. And it's just, and I like how, even though when that reveal happens, like neither one of them is like necessarily mad or upset about it. It's just like, oh wow, what do we do with this now? Like, I just like that it's not like a negative reaction. It's just like, now we know, what do we do next? And then just like their whole final confrontation where, you know, Bruce desperately wants her to like let go of her vengeance and just like be all of herself with him. Like, you know, he doesn't care that she's Catwoman. It's just like he understands that she's Catwoman. He understands that, you know, that duality and feeling more like yourself in that other persona. And how for her, even though she feels that too, it's like she just can't go there. She just can't be like, whatever you want that's kind of like normal, that was never going to be me, and it can't be me now. So, but to a certain degree, they still kind of end on good terms, because it's just like they let the other one be themselves. And I like that. But yeah, that pretty much covers Batman Returns. Still one of my favorites. Still like my second favorite Batman movie. And I love watching it at Christmas time. It's definitely a Christmas movie to me. But yeah, so next up, I'm going to be reviewing Die Hard, another Christmas movie. But yeah, thanks for watching.